What's happening, everybody? Welcome back to the channel and to another NFL video. It is time for week number 9 here in the NFL. Man, like I said last week, the season just continues to fly by, but here we are, man, week number 9. We're going to go over some player props here in this video. We're also going to dive into the Sunday slate, break each of those games down, and give a quick little analysis and what my favorite play is for those games. Before we do all that, we got to jump over there to the Guy Boston Sports website. Now, week in and week out, that's where I put all of my final plays on the slate. So make sure you check that out, man. It's going to be down there in that pinned comment. You'll find a link that'll send you right over there to those final plays. So let's go ahead and jump over there. That way we can recap our plays from week 8. Let's see what we put in then and how that ended up going down. In week 8, we had another profitable week, man. That makes 6 out of the first 8 weeks here that we are on the winning side of things. 6-3 overall on the day. And we're going to look to keep that positive momentum and that winning energy flying right here into this week 9 video, man. Let's go ahead and do just that. Let's dive into this, guys. Smash that like button down there for me if you can. Hit subscribe if you have not already. So, man, let's go ahead and jump right into the prop playbook. Now, week in and week out, this is where we look at our favorite player props on the slate. We dive into those and we break them down a little bit. Let's go ahead and jump over to Outlier. That way we can look at our first play of the week. We're going to be looking at Michael Pittman Jr. of the Colts taking on the Steelers there. 1 p.m. kickoff time in this one. I'm looking at his receiving yards over 53.5. You get that at BetMGM right now, minus 115, as well as Hard Rock Bet. If we scroll on down and look at him on the year, only a 50% hit rate, right? 4 out of 8 games, but he has hit in the last 2 games coming into this one. 58 yards there against the Chargers and then 95 yards last week against the Titans. If we scroll on up to this insight from Outlier, we can see that he's exceeded not only that 53.5 mark that we're looking at, but this 54.5 receiving yard mark as well. In 4 of his last 5 games on the road, he's averaging 67.8 receiving yards in those games, hitting at a 80% rate. Now, the thing that I love about this one is that Pittsburgh defense, right? Or lack thereof, rather. 32nd, they're dead last in terms of receiving yards allowed per game. And against that receiver position specifically, still sitting at dead last, giving up 182 yards per game to that wide receiver position. And we scroll down, we can see, some of the receivers going up against Pittsburgh. You see a lot more green check marks down here than X's, right? That's them hitting up and over their receiving prop for the week. So we definitely like to see that. And we can scroll up just a little bit here, see that Pittman is the highest targeted receiver there on the Indianapolis Colts. So I do like for him to get up and over that mark. I think we're getting this number down low. Like I said, I'm going to be looking at it at 53.5. We'll go ahead and put that back up there. I think we're getting a low like this, man, for that reputation of that Pittsburgh defense, but it's just not what it's been in years past, right? Really none of the defenses in the AFC North, right? Because Baltimore's had their struggles as well, though they do got some players coming back from injury, so that should help them. But yeah, AFC North just not what it's been in years past, man. That Pittsburgh defense definitely not what it's been in years past. So I like this one for our first play of the day. Michael Pittman Jr., his receiving yards over 53.5. Then looking at our second play of the day, I'm going to be looking at Josh Allen of the Bills. They're taking on the Chiefs. 4:25 p.m. kickoff time. We'll dive into this one a little bit more when we get into the video and we break down the games as well. But I do like this one over 35.5. You get that at minus 117 over there at Bet Rivers. Now, you can see in the last 5 games, he's hitting this at a 60% rate, right? Only 7 yards against the Panthers last week in that blowout. But hey, head-to-head against the Chiefs, man, this has kind of been the bread and butter. This has been their recipe for success against the Chiefs. Like I said, we're going to talk about this in more depth when we break down this game. But you can see he's hit the last 2 times that they played the Chiefs. He's gone up and over that mark. And the other thing that I like here, right? You scroll on over, look at the Chiefs for their rushing yards allowed. They're sitting at 11th, but against that quarterback position, they have had trouble, man. They're sitting at 30th, third from last, giving up almost 27 rushing yards per game. Now, obviously, that's under where we want to be, but we can see he's averaged 47 rushing yards in those last 2 games against the Chiefs. He's averaging 34.4 over the last 5, right there at that mark where we want him to be at. So I like our chances here, like I said, going up against that Chiefs defense that has struggled against the quarterback position, rushing the ball, and also just in years past, this is what we've seen from the Bills when they go up against the Chiefs, man. They're going to look to run the ball with Josh Allen and James Cook. So I like our chances of getting 36 rushing yards from Josh Allen. I think he can knock that out for us, man. So that's going to be my second play on the day. And that is going to take us into our plus money cash out. That's going to be the next play that we are looking at, guys. Now, this is pretty simple how this works, right? Make sure you comment down there, double up. And if you do so, it's going to enter you into the contest. Now, like I said last week, man, we were giving $10 away if these plus money bets hit, right? Now, I'm going to pick my favorite plus money play on the slate. Like I said, if that cashes, I was giving out $10. But like I said last week, man, we haven't cashed now 3 weeks in a row. That frustrates me, man. So we're up in the ante. We're going to go ahead and give out $20 if this hits. In fact, let's make it 25. Just going to keep up in the ante a little bit until we hit one of these, man, because I'm getting a little frustrated. getting a little frustrated. We got to hit one of these plus money cash outs again. We hit 2 weeks in a row when we started this off, and now we have failed to hit for 3 weeks straight. Let's jump over there to Outlier. I'm going to be looking at my guy T. Higgins of the Bengals, man. They're taking on the Bears Sunday at 1 p.m. I'm looking at a touchdown from T. I'm going to give us plus 155 odds over there at Bet365. You can scroll down and look at him. He's hitting at this at a 50% rate on the year, right? 4 out of 8 games, and 2 games in a row heading into this one. The thing that I really like about this one is T at home has been an absolute beast, right? 8 straight games that he's hit for at least 1 touchdown, including a 3-touchdown outburst against the Broncos last season, 2 against the Ravens there. I mean, honestly, with the question marks at quarterback, you think that that would be kind of, pause for concern here, right? Look, Flacco loves him some Higgins just as well as Jake Browning, right? It doesn't really seem to matter who's out there. These are this is a 6'4" receiver with really good hands. Like, throw the ball in this dude's direction. He's going to come down with the ball, man. So I like our chances. I like it a lot better if Joe Flacco's out there. I'm not going to hold you, but I still like it even if Jake Browning is the one that goes out there. I don't like the Bengals' chances of winning the game with Browning under center, but I do like our chances of seeing T hop himself into the end zone against that Bears defense that's sitting at 28th in terms of touchdowns allowed, and against that receiver position also sitting there at 28th. So, and that is going to wrap things up there for that plus money cash out. Make sure you comment double up down there or T. That way you can get entered into the contest. Now, guys, that's going to take us into our next segment. It's going to be our quick hits, and that's where we break down the slate and go over the games on Sunday afternoon and that Sunday night football game and give our quick analysis over each of those and our favorite bet for each of those games. So let's go ahead and get right into it, man. The Atlanta Falcons and the New England Patriots are going to kick us off here with our 1 p.m. games. Now, New England, man, they're coming into this one on a 5-game winning streak, and they've just been steamrolling opponents, right? Winning 3 of those 5 by no less than 18 points. Atlanta, on the other hand, they've dropped 2 in a row, including a 24-point beatdown last week at the hands of a Dolphin team that had been unraveling coming into that one. I like this Patriots team, man, but, I do think that there's a reason why, they're not favored by more here in this spot. I think it's possible that we see a slight let up from them here in this one. Drake May, he has definitely looked like one of the best quarterbacks in all of football here in his second season. In the Patriots, man, they're sitting at 8th for passing yards per game, 3rd DVOA passing, but Atlanta's coming into this one 8th defending the pass DVOA. They've given up the fewest yards per game through the air this season as well, not only on the road, but just overall in general. And then, meanwhile, offensively, Atlanta has struggled tremendously through the air. They fared better on the ground, but the Patriots defense has been elite stopping the run, right? 5th DVOA in that regard. So initially, I did like looking at the Falcons plus the points, but I think talking it out here, I think I like it under more, right? 44.5 is where that line's sitting at. And I think that's because of the explosiveness that we've seen from this Patriots offense. And I think that there's some good value here looking at it under where this number's sitting at. And next up, we got the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Detroit Lions. Now, this is one where that line is pretty high, right? Sitting at 8.5. But the Vikings are coming off of a 37-10 beatdown to the Chargers last week, and the Lions, meanwhile, they've covered in 7 of their last 8 games that they've been made favorites. They've won outright in 17 of the last 19 games that they've been made favorites. So, yeah, when Detroit's made a favorite, man, they get the job done more times than not. J.J. McCarthy, he's likely to make his return to action here, but he struggled with man coverage. Detroit plays man at the 6th highest rate. It's a divisional matchup, man, and, these can get kind of funky, right? But the Lions just feel like they're that much better than Minnesota right now. They have more momentum. They're in the better spot here coming off the bye. 5th best offensive DVOA, the top defense DVOA. So give me Detroit here. The next up, going to be looking at the Carolina Panthers and the Green Bay Packers. Now, I've tried to look at this one, man, a few different ways, and I'm just not super confident here betting anything, no matter how I look at it, right? Now, I want to get there with Green Bay on the side, but 13.5 is a ton of points to lay, and the Packers haven't really shown us that they are going to consistently cover these larger lines. They're 3-4 against the spread this season, covering in games that they were favored by 1.5, 2.5, and 3. And then the 4 that they failed to cover in, they were favorites of 6.5, 7, 7.5, and 15. Panthers, though, while surprising at times this season and sitting at 500 with 4 wins, 4 losses, when they faced the better teams in the league this season, they've been blown out, right? 42-13 to the Patriots in week 4, and then a 40-9 loss to the Bills just last week at home. So I definitely don't trust them here in Green Bay against this Packers team. That's 7th DVOA for offense, 8th defensively, and 6th overall. But yeah, man, just too many points here to lay from me, especially with a Green Bay team that's, just been known to play with their food. So I'll lean Green Bay on the side, but I don't think I get there, man. And I looked at a Carolina team total under as well, but at 15.5, just doesn't feel like we're getting a ton of value there either. So Maybe an alternate of some sort here that we parlay with something else, but I just don't see me playing anything straight here in this game. And next up, we got the Indianapolis Colts taking on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Man, it's tough to fade the Steelers coming in off of two straight losses and with Pittsburgh here at home as a dog. Now, under Tomlin, they've gone 21-7-3 against the spread when they've been made a home dog. But man, this defense has really struggled. We talked about that in that player prop over there with Michael Pittman, right? Giving up the most passing yards per game, sitting at 18th for rushing yards allowed, and just 22nd for points allowed per game as well. Now, the Steelers do play more man coverage than zone, which Jones has struggled with, right? But with the Steelers' struggles as a whole defensively, combined with the Colts bringing the top-rated offense DVOA into this one, and a running back in Jonathan Taylor, who many have as the MVP to this point, and who could argue that, I don't know, man. It's hard to look Pittsburgh's way, right? The whole world is on Indy here, though, right? It feels like, with that line at only 3.5, something is fishy here, right? So I feel crazy backing them after, the explanations that I just gave after their second half implosion last week, but I would lean with Pittsburgh here in this one. I just don't think that I don't think I have it in me to pull the trigger on that one, man. I'm not sure that I get there. Then I'd be looking at the Los Angeles Chargers taking on the Tennessee Titans. The Chargers, man, they opened up the year looking like one of the top teams in the league before injuries started to set in. Now, we're seeing them begin to return players back to action, and they come into this one off of a 27-point destruction of the Vikings. 9.5 points, though. Feels like a lot to lay here with them, man. But then you start to look at the other side in Tennessee, right? Just 1-7 straight up with that one win coming by just 1 point. Man, the Titans, they failed to cover this 9.5 point line in 6 of their 7 losses, and they have failed to cover in general in 2 of their last 14 games now. You do have Tennessee interim coach Mike McCoy after the firing of Brian Callahan. Look, Mike McCoy would love to get back at this team right here, right? This is the team that fired him years ago. I mean, I just don't see that happening here with the Titans' struggles on both sides of the ball, and Justin Herbert, leading a Chargers passing attack that sits at fourth for yards per game this season, first over their last 3 games. So give me the Chargers here on the side in this one. Next up, looking at the Chicago Bears and the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, this is a tough one. Not knowing the status of Flacco. If he's in, I get the idea of a Bengals and a bounce back spot here. I'm seeing a lot of people on the Bengals this week. They're looking like a dog of choice, and we may just see that line end up flipping in their favor if Flacco isn't ruled out. Man, this hometown guy just I can't get there personally, man. I don't trust the Cincinnati defense more than I just don't trust this defense at all. Period. They're dead last for defensive DVOA, and honestly, man, it's the worst defense I've seen in years of any team, maybe ever. I'm not gonna lie. What I can trust, though, with this Bengals team is that offense. As long as Flacco is a go, you know what I mean? If he's not in there, I'm not so sure. But if Flacco's a go, man, on the year, Cincinnati's just 21st for points per game. But if we look at them in the last 3 with him under center, 5th for points per game, 6th for passing yards per game, and the run game has improved as well, jumping from second to last on the year to 14th over their last 3 games in terms of rushing yards per game, second for rushing yards per carry. Now, Chicago does come in with a better defense than the Bengals. Who doesn't, for one, and but for two, this Bears defense isn't anything near that of the 80s or even the early 2000s Bears defense, right? This Chicago defense sits at 24th DVOA, 25th for points allowed per game. So I'm going to lean with the Bengals, a team total over in this one. But like I said, man, I need Flacco out there to pull the trigger on that one. We're going to be looking at the San Francisco 49ers taking on the New York Giants. Now, this is a short line, and I kind of understand given how beat up San Francisco is, right? But they still have talent on that offensive side of things, and one of the best running backs in the game. They should be able to get some points up against this Giants defense that sits at 26 on the year for both DVOA and points allowed per game. New York, on the other hand, they've got to adjust to life without who's emerged as a young leader on this squad, Cam Scatterbo, right? The energy that he brings, it's definitely going to be missed here for the Giants offensively. So I'm going to lean with the Niners looking at this one here. And we got the Denver Broncos taking on the Houston Texans. Now, Houston comes into this one off of a big win over San Francisco, while Denver has won 5 in a row now, fresh off of a 44-24 win over Dallas. Now, this is a tough one to call on the side, man, but I think that I would like looking at the total in this one over anything else anyways, right? And I'm probably going to shock some people here, man, but I would be looking at the over. That line's sitting at 39.5. Yeah, I'm going to be looking at an over here, man. I know we have 2 of the top defenses in the NFL facing off here, right? Denver sitting at 5th DVOA, Houston checking in at 4th. But over the last 3 games, man, we've seen each of these offenses really begin to pick things up. Denver jumping to 3rd for points per game, up from their season ranking of 10th, and Houston up from 19th for points per game to 5th over their last 3 games. So The Texans have also had the second worst red zone touchdown percentage defensively on the year. Denver sits at 6 in this regard offensively. Then over their last 3 games, man, the Broncos are just 20th defensively for red zone touchdown percentage on their end. Denver also plays man coverage defensively at the highest rate in the NFL, and Stroud does see his numbers dip slightly in terms of yards per attempt, and completion percentage, but his interception percentage, EPA, and DVOA all increase. And keep in mind, man, Denver's going to be without their top corner and Patrick Surtain. Denver has gone up and over this number here in 2 straight games, the Texans in 3. I think this line is just too low, man. We can find some value looking at it over here. That is going to take us into our 4 p.m. games, looking at the New Orleans Saints and the Los Angeles Rams now. Look, man, Rams are favored by 13.5 in this one. Laying 2 touchdowns with the Rams here isn't necessarily where I want to go with this one. They have quietly been a top contender all season long, right? They sit inside the top 3 for both offensive and defensive DVOA. They've also covered this number the last 2 weeks, holding their opponents to a combined 10 points over those 2 games. The Rams are 12-3 against the spread over their last 15 games as well. New Orleans, they're most likely going to be rolling out Tyler Shough for his first start, and he inherits an offense that sits 28th DVOA, had the 5th worst rushing attack, and has put up the 4th fewest points per game to this point. So not ideal for your first start on the road, facing this Rams defense that's giving up the 3rd fewest points per game, the 6th fewest rushing yards per carry, and they sit at 2nd defending the pass DVOA. Yeah, give me Los Angeles in this one, man. I'm on the Rams. And next up, Jacksonville Jaguars, Las Vegas Raiders. Now, the Jacksonville Jaguars, man, they have had some stretches that they've played some really good ball, right? They've also been very inconsistent, and we've seen them lose 2 straight games heading into their bye. Games that saw them score just 7 and 12 points respectively. The Raiders, they're also be coming in off of a bye, and they've been pretty consistently bad this year. And for some time now, right? Vegas is sitting at 1-15 straight up over their last 16 games that they've been made an underdog. In that regard, the Jaguars, they're sitting at 12-6 against the spread over their last 18 games. So the Jags, they're still in the thick of things in the wide open AFC, man. They're sitting at 4-3, so I like them to get the win and cover here. This is a big game for the Jaguars. They sit at 12th for DVOA. Vegas is 3rd from last. And they've really just shown no signs of hope, right? So I'm going to back the Jags in a get-right type of game here. Then our next game is going to take me into our dog of the week. Kansas City Chiefs, Buffalo Bills. I'm looking at the Bills, man. Getting the Bills as a home dog is rare enough, man. But a home dog after a 31-point beatdown the prior week, you don't see that often, man. They're 4-1, both straight up and against the spread in their last 5 games as a home dog dating back to 2020. And, man, yes, the Chiefs have been playing the better ball of these two as of late, and they've definitely had the Bills' number in the postseason during the Mahomes and Allen era, right? Winning all 4 meetings so far. This isn't the postseason, man. The regular season has been a different story with the Bills taking 4 of the 5 head-to-head matches between these two. Buffalo has a rest advantage here as well, right? Coming off of a bye in Week 7, then playing the Panthers early Sunday, Week 8, while the Chiefs didn't play until Monday night there in Week 8. The key in this one is going to be that run game for Buffalo. We talked about it slightly with that player prop for Josh Allen. But you look at the Chiefs, man, they've been hot the past 3 weeks, right? And that's been predicated off building big leads early. Buffalo, they're going to try to exploit a Chiefs defense that sits at 18th for rushing yards per carry with the likes of Josh Allen and James Cook, and their run game that ranks 1st DVOA, 1st for rushing yards per game, and 2nd for rushing yards per carry. So if they're able to do that, man, and they, can withstand or, avoid having the Chiefs jump out to a big lead like they've been able to do those last 3 weeks, man, this is where I think Buffalo finds success, right? The Chiefs are 22nd in terms of EPA allowed per handoff, 23rd for run stop rating. The Bills are averaging a league-high 33 minutes a game, and they have used that to help mask their defensive struggles, which they're going to have to do here, right? So I'm sure it's going to be another tight one end of the day between these two, but I do like the Bills to pull this one out in front of what I'm sure is going to be an electric crowd in Buffalo. You know they love beating the Chiefs. I'm going to tell you right now, when I went to the Bengals game a couple years ago in Buffalo when we played them in the playoffs, we took it to them. Man. We walked out of that stadium. I'm expecting a lot of hate, right? And all I heard from everybody was, go beat the Chiefs. Who they? Go beat the Chiefs, right? They just hate Kansas City over there, man. So that crowd is going to be bananas. And it's going to be an exciting game, man. And I think the Bills come out on top. So that is my dog of the week. And then our next game on the slate going to be that Sunday night football game. Seattle Seahawks taking on the Washington Commanders. Now, I don't really have a strong opinion on this one, man, but I feel like it's hard to look anywhere but Seattle in this spot, especially with the uncertainty surrounding who's going to start at quarterback for Washington. And that's kind of why I'm where I'm at with this one. I'm just not really sure how to look at it. I do know that Seattle's 3-0 on the road, man. They're 2nd for DVOA defensively. They're 7th offensively DVOA. They're going to be fresh off of a bye as well, well rested here in this spot. So, like I said, man, I'm going to lean with Seattle on this spot, but just hard for me to make a definitive call not knowing what's going on the Washington side of things. And that is going to wrap us up for this Week 9 video. I hope you guys enjoyed the show today. Hope you found the content helpful and useful. And if you did, please don't forget to smash that like button on your way out. Hit subscribe if you have not already. And that is going to do it, man. I hope you guys all have yourselves a great Week 9. I hope you guys all cash out. And I'll see you back for the next one.